August the 1st, 1936 in Berlin, the capital of the Third Reich. This brand new monumental stadium is the theatre of the largest Nazi propaganda operation of all time. And yet, this giant ceremony is not a Nazi Party convention. The Olympic Games of 1936, an event that should celebrate peace between peoples, an event that would forever become a shameful stain in history. In 1931, when Germany was a candidate to host the Olympic Games, the Nazis were not yet in power. But the country, still recovering from the destruction of World War I, already carries the seeds of xenophobic extremism that allow hate to proliferate. Humiliated by the Treaty of Versailles, then pummeled by the stock market crash of 1929, Germany's on the brink of asphyxiation. Half of the population is jobless. This man tries to bring some relief to his country in the only way he can. He's not a politician, but simply a German Olympic Committee secretary. A former journalist, Karl Diem, accelerates forward with his vision. With the development of mass media, he sees that sports will soon pull in the passions of fans the world over. So in 1931, he does everything he can to convince this man, Henri de Baillet-Latour, the president of the CIO, to make Germany the host of the 1936 Games. Against Barcelona's application, Baillet-Latour rules in favour of Berlin, a highly symbolic choice, a choice that he thinks will repair the post-war humiliation of Germany. But Karl Diem's vision will soon be thrown into chaos. January the 30th, 1933, Adolf Hitler is named Chancellor. He quickly grants himself full powers and suppresses all personal freedoms. The organisation of the Olympic Games that had been decided 2 years previously was the least of his worries. Karl Diem wanted to hold his games at all costs, even if it meant confronting Hitler. He finds surprising support in his boss, Theodor Lewald, a Jew turned Protestant and the president of the German Olympic Committee. The meeting was held at the Chancellery of the Reich. Lewald and Diem faced Hitler. At their sides, listening attentively, was Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's Minister of Propaganda. Reichsmarks, which would be about 54 million euros today, are immediately put aside for the organisation of the Games. In December 1933, the Führer orders that a monumental stadium be built, a stadium that will be the biggest in the world.
Also die Bauzeit hier, die betrug 2 Jahre ungefähr. Man hat im Frühjahr 1934 begonnen und war dann Ende April 1936 fertig. Insgesamt hat man hier 2000 Arbeiter beschäftigt. Die mussten aber alle einen ARIA-Nachweis haben.
Less than 1 year before the official opening of the Games of Berlin, Hitler proclaims his Nuremberg laws. Facing a Germany plunged into terror, the president of the CIO, Henri de Baillet-Latour, took no action.
Personne ne bouge, personne ne bouge, on laisse faire. On laisse faire, c'est justement ce côté laxiste qui fait qu'on peut se dire qu'on a été quelque part un peu complice et que le mouvement olympique lui-même aurait dû s'offusquer.
The first objectors made themselves heard from the other side of the Atlantic. Dozens of sports leaders and American politicians sent letters calling for an Olympic boycott to the CIO. Meanwhile, the movement expands in Europe at the initiative of the communist organisations. They desperately needed to project a respectable image of themselves. With a perfect understanding of the power of symbols, the Nazis turned towards the father of the Olympic Games, Pierre de Coubertin, the founder of the CIO that had also organised the first modern Olympic Games in Athens 40 years previously. Seduced, Coubertin helps to legitimise the Games of Berlin by recording a message of support that Karl Diem had played through radios across the globe. All of the governments were deluded by Adolf Hitler's shallow promises. He begins to wipe all of the anti-Semite signs from Berlin before the arrival of the first visitors. The prohibitions on the Jewish people were also lifted, but only during the 15 days of the Olympic Games. And more importantly, he promises that there will be Jewish athletes in the German Olympic team. The Nazis' crude manoeuvring was enough to manipulate the US, the UK and France into officially declaring themselves against the notion of a boycott. In the summer of 1936, a grand Nazi masquerade set forth. First step, their PR campaign uses images to create a parallel between the pure man, the Aryan race, and the ancient athletes of antiquity. Dozens of Greco-Roman statues are erected in the streets of the capital. And on July the 20th, the Olympic torch is lit in the sacred woods of Olympia. before beginning the first relay in history on its way to Berlin. The decor was in place, and with it, Olympic values and Nazism had been cleverly fused as one. Hitler's Games could now begin. On the 1st of August, the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games transformed itself into a gigantic celebration of Nazism. The Olympic ideals of peace had given way instead to a demonstration of German military power. The Hitler Youth, Hitler's paramilitary forces, SS officers and all types of security forces filed along Berlin streets under the eyes of thousands of onlookers from over 49 different countries. This opening ceremony, evoking the Nazis' glory, finished with the arrival of the Olympic torch carried in by the ideal Aryan athlete. This was a battle of images, and the Nazis used each Olympic event as a form of political confrontation. All of the German athletes wore swastikas on their uniforms. Any successes of the German team were occasions to celebrate Nazi grandeur. Their flag was raised and their anthem filled the stadium, while the German athletes saluted their leader. They invented the first ranking board of nations, showing the number of Olympic medals earned per country, all in order to show off their highly trained athletes' medals. August the 3rd, 1936, late afternoon. The entire stadium has their eyes fixed on the starting line for the 100-metre race, the king of all Olympic events. Even in his first strides, Jesse Owens had already left his adversaries in the dust. In just 10.3 seconds, captured by the world's cameras, the Nazis saw their perfect games start to slip away. And it wasn't over yet. Armed with his charismatic smile, Jesse Owens returned the next day to deliver the final punch. He was there to challenge this German jumper, Lutz Long, who was the current European record holder of the long jump. Jesse Owens was able to complete an incredible jump at 7.94 metres. He broke a world record. Day after day, Jesse Owens continued to make his mark on the Nazi Olympic Games. The following day, he also won the 200-metre race and later the 4x100 relay. The 4 gold medals won by Jesse Owens had certainly made a mark, but it is Germany that finished as a major victor with 89 medals, far ahead of any other participating country. On August the 25th, the Daily Parisian newspaper highlighted the unanimously acclaimed success of Hitler's lavish games. On the same page, another article reports without much fanfare that Germany is in the middle of considerably reinforcing its army. The Games of 1936 had functioned as planned, as Hitler's sleight of hand. The world's eyes were fixed on these grandiose Olympics, while in reality, Hitler was planning his war strategy. Just 3 years later, the Nazi regime made a joke of their Olympic values of tolerance and peace between peoples, showing their true nature. Adolf Hitler unleashed the Second World War onto the world as his armies poured across Europe.